Hello. Nice to be here again. Wait a moment or two, see if we have any folks that are going to join us live. I noticed I always say something about the gorgeous weather here, which isn't always the case here in New York City. But it is. It's a nice day today. Maybe I will get out, and I haven't been out yet. So we'll give it another moment. If you've joined, please say hi. Send me a little heart or a little thumbs up or whatever grabs you. Because we are in relationship, right? So our focus today is on, as we are coming out of all over the country and New York City as of this week, coming out of our lockdown. We're in phase 1, so you still can't walk outside without a mask, but that's okay. And so this conversation, how we're maintaining our relationships, will be evolving, and it certainly has been over the last 3 months. 3 months this week since we went into lockdown, and I think that the evolution that we're working towards now is how do we those relationships that we've been able to sustain, mostly, I hope all of them in some form or another, even though we couldn't see each other. A lot of us couldn't see people physically. So how do we morph into what this new phase of relationship will be like? Before we do that, I'd love to explore the idea of how we've maintained vibrant, and boy, that word vibrant, I was very clear when I chose it, that vibrant is not necessarily how I've been feeling so much when I wake up every day over the last 3 months. But we can, and I've discovered this, and I hope you have too, we can create socially distanced or online virtual vibrant relationships with people that mean a lot to us, not just intimate partners. And I was aware that when I said vibrant relationships, I don't just mean a significant other. I'm also looking at how do we maintain vibrant relationships with our children, whether they're at home with us 24/7 homeschooling, or whether we are distanced from them as I am, fortunately not too far distance. Hi Corey, welcome. And how do we, mine are in the city, they're in Brooklyn, and they're in Murray Hill. How do we maintain relationship with them? How have we? So I'd love to hear from you about how you've done that with the special people in your life. So definitely relationships, meaning intimate partners. I've been locked down with my husband of 40 years, and we both work at home together anyway. So in some ways it wasn't an adjustment, but it sure has brought me back to the first couple years that I left corporate and we were both working at home, and that was probably the biggest career change I felt like I had ever experienced, because it was a lifestyle change. So we've all been having this big lifestyle change, to put it mildly. So not just intimate relationships with a significant other, with children who are at home, with children who we haven't been able to see, older children who don't live with us, work colleagues, definitely. I mean, we've discovered a whole other way of networking, a whole other way of holding meetings, and we do have significant relationships in that world, and in our community, in our spiritual communities. So how do we, what are kind of, I think there's a bunch of ways that we all know about, because we've all become Zoom experts kind of by default, by necessity, over the last several months. So there are some obvious ways, obviously, that we maintain vibrant relationships. We keep in touch virtually with birthday parties, and I have I have a couple times a week, my husband and I have FaceTime play dates with our 3-year-old granddaughter, which has been quite extraordinary. And those of you with young children that you're distanced from for one reason or another, could be a favorite niece, nephew, grandchild, whatever. We have reached a level of imaginary play that I don't know that we would have gotten to if we, when we were live. We certainly have a lot of fun when we're together live, but the things that she comes up with when you're face to face, you don't have to be imaginary. You don't have to use your imagination in the same way. So that's been really remarkable for me to watch that. We played Twister this week. She in her apartment and me in mine. We played, bingo and dress up. We will, and sometimes she doesn't actually dress up. She will go behind a chair and she'll come out and she'll say, "Oh, Grammy, look at my beautiful blue dress with rainbow sparkles on it." And she's wearing the same clothes. We don't do that live. So it's finding and discovering ways that we can take those relationships that are near and dear to us and turn them into something that's even more expanded than if it's even possible to think that way in this, as we have been through these 3 months now, fortunately beginning to expand our life a little bit. So however you're seeing people, if you're able to, if you're living with them 24/7, if you're able to see them with, socially distanced walks in the park or whatever that looks like, one of the things that I found is really important in terms of maintaining that vibrancy, and it sounds a little counterintuitive, is to make sure that you're very clear about your boundaries. It may be that you're over Zoomed, in which case, or over FaceTimed, because that's a different kind of visual experience to have. So it's okay to say, "Can we just talk on the phone?" Or "I'm just totally overwhelmed today." I had this great conversation with a client we were talking about she's very empathic. She's an empath, and she feels like now she's very much more aware in her friendships and those kinds of vibrant relationships, how mutual or not mutual those relationships are. Is she the one that's always listening? So another boundary to set is to say, "I'm really having a tough day. I woke," and obviously this could happen anytime, not just during a pandemic. Would you mind just listening to me? I really just, need to get whatever it is that you need to get out. Along those lines is how important it is always, but I think especially if you're living in close quarters with people, and likewise if you're not seeing them, email, texting is a great way, obviously, and you can send little love notes that way and be creative about how you use your emails and texting. But as you know, again, not just during a pandemic, it's very easy to misinterpret or just not hear tone. So phone call can be great that way. People that might not necessarily pick up the phone and, to a client even, and say, "I've been thinking of you, how are you doing? How's business?" Without an agenda, without, "Oh, let me help you," or "I've got this for you," but just speaking from a really authentic, honest place, which, as I said, obviously we hope that you're doing that all the time, not just in difficult times like this. So thinking and looking at the activities that we participate in, that all of us have been doing, and then going a little step further. So one of the things, as a lover of ritual and creating symbolic actions to mark changes in our lives, one of the things that's a very sweet way, and you can do it together, you can do it separately, to really enhance your relationship with someone. I have my couples do this, who I'm marrying, who are getting married, and they'll do this particular thing, but you can do it with any relationship, where you take a big fat candle, a pillar candle, and you carve into it words and symbols of what it is that you appreciate about each other, what it is that you wish for each other or for your relationship. When my wedding couples do it, it's literally in some ways kind of they're carving into this candle And you can use, do I have one handy? Ugh, yeah, I've got this extra long nail that somebody gave me because they know how much I love to do candle magic. Or you can just use an empty pen. Carve words and symbols into it. If you've got some, glitter and some wonderful aromatherapy oil, you can put oil and glitter on it. You can each do it separately if you are in separate locations. And when you burn the candle, and when you both do it, you're creating this connection with each other. Likewise, if you do it together in the same home, you can each do your own candles, but you can actually create it together and it becomes your family candle. I again, do this with families, with couples who have kids, and they create a family unity candle. So it's a unity candle, but with a different kind of slant on it. So thinking about, there's the obvious ways like we talked about with, being totally zoomed, creating videos for people, maybe for grandparents, or, if you've got kids at home that can't see their grandparents, obviously FaceTime's always there, but do a little show on a video and send them something around that. So some of the other ones are playing, having game nights. And again, for those of you that have kids at home, you may have discovered some of these non-virtual things that you can do with your kids that aren't, hey Martin, wonderful to see you, that you can do with your kids that aren't screen related, which again, we should always be able to do that, but somehow in the lockdown mode, you're kind of forced to get a little bit more creative. So I'd love to hear if anybody's done any kind of cool different things during this time that they think they can, now that we're slowly, hopefully, starting to come out of the real intensity, and that you really, that things that you've discovered that you love doing, that you want to continue this cool new habit or activity that you've been doing or that you started doing, to really deepen relationships with various people in your lives. If you've got ideas, I'd love to hear them, definitely. The other one, and I used to do this with my kids when they were literally in nursery school, is to send energy to each other. Or sometimes we would send each other colors during the day. So I would, I'd either put something in a lunchbox, which we can't really do, but you could do a text, or you could just send a sparkle, whatever it looks like, something that's nonverbal is a great way to deepen any relationship, certainly with a significant other, but kids get a kick out of that too, because it does have that little bit of magic attached to it, which kids always get into and love doing. Hey Liza, great to see you. The other big one, and I encourage you to think about, I talk about the four-legged stool or the four-pointed crown of self-care. Now, what does that have to do with maintaining vibrant relationships? Hopefully you know it has everything to do with it. And I think if I was to say what's the most important thing to do to really make sure that you're communicating the way that you want to with your spouse or significant other, with your children, with your parents, is making sure that you're taking care of yourself on every level, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. That includes setting some of those boundaries, saying, no, I can't do this, or I'm going to go out for a walk or a run right now, so you guys can start dinner. So that this four-legged stool, though, really, if you think of what are you doing for your mind, your body, your heart, and your soul, so mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, looking at those and thinking about how you can use each one of them to enhance your relationship. That might mean, I've done Zoom spa days with all the women in my family, with the various daughters-in-law and nieces, and just the women, and granddaughter, my mom. That's a body, and also, quite frankly, for the soul. A lot of them are definitely a little mix and match, all four, mind, body, heart, spirit. Send Valentines to each other, to really get your heart. If you haven't found it, and I'm sure if you Google it, you can see it. It's been the thing that I've been sending to my whole family and various friends and groups. The New York Times, about a week ago, had a wonderful article about how to safely hug. And still, obviously you're not socially distanced, but you actually are touching the person, and they show you, the ways you turn your head away, or you have a child squeeze you around your legs. mean, that's a huge piece of them for me, and I'm sure for a lot of you. The missing of physical contact, and especially hugs, has been one of the toughest things about this. But I feel like having shown my kids that they're experts that say that these are actually things that you can do to hug safely. Another great thing for emotional self-care. Spiritually, if you're connected with a spiritual community, I have a wonderful one where I've always done my live women's circles. Now they're on Zoom on the new moon. The Fourth Universalist Society. It's a UU congregation in New York City, and they've been doing Zoom services every Sunday and all kinds of other things. There's a summer solstice service coming up in a couple weeks. All kinds of cool stuff. So reconnect, figure out how to connect with people in that community that soothes your soul. Online, there are a lot of, if you love to sing, or if you're a yoga person, lots of the top yoga teachers are doing kirtans, which is sacred chanting online, and I've tuned into a bunch of them. Meditate together, which you can do. I lead now, all my meditations are on Zoom, but believe me, they're as effective virtually as they are. And when I do my full moon meditations on the phone every month, that hasn't changed. I continue to do them on the phone. If you're living with someone or with your kids, this could be a really sweet time to experiment with doing some of these spiritual practices together yourself. The one that, we're so mental, we're such a mental society. I think we sometimes, I'm always looking for ways to get into my body and out of my head, but there are very lovely ways to enhance, to really make your connection with people that you love mentally too, by taking a course together during this time when you might not have been able to otherwise because you're too busy. I mean, I've done things with various friends that we never, because our plates were too full, and they're pretty full now, but in different ways, so that we're taking courses together. Or I have a movie date with one of my dearest friends on Saturday afternoon, and where we watch the movie and then separately, and then we come back and we talk about it. So you can read books together. I've been reading with my granddaughter on FaceTime. So think about the ways, because I do believe once you're taking care of yourself, everybody else in your life benefits. It's the old adage, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. And with that, what I'd love to do for our brief little meditation today, I want to watch our timing, try to do this around 20-25 minutes, is to bring you into a place where you can imagine yourself. So let's take a deep breath together. You still have an opportunity. I'm not seeing any comments, but I'd love to hear any other ideas that you all have played with to really maintain your relationships in meaningful ways, distanced or overly connected with each other 24/7. So what I would love to do, if we can breathe together, close eyes, let it go. And as a way to kind of bring all of this together, just continue to breathe deeply. Take a moment in the middle of your busy day. Let's breathe together, inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling together and exhaling. Continuing to breathe. And then also, in that great imagination that we've been talking about, imagine yourself. Imagine the essence of you, what I like to call our circle of one, sitting in the middle of a big spiral. Maybe it's a labyrinth, maybe it's concentric circles. But you are the center point, the scintilla, the soul spark at the middle of this circle. And surrounding you, which you can imagine in concentric circles or in a spiral, are all of the relationships that are meaningful to you. So maybe in the next circle out, you can imagine your family members that you've been in touch with, either living with them or otherwise. And then maybe beyond that, it might be your community and and missing some of the things the non-work things that you did that were meaningful to you and the people that were important to you in that place. And then beyond that, our work relationships. Many of us are working full-time at home, and you're used to being in an office full-time. So that's been an adjustment. But how have you kept in touch with those people in a meaningful way? And then it goes beyond that. But if we talk about vibrant relationships to those people that we already have connections with, how do we take a look at each circle? So with your family, can you just take a moment with the people that are closest to you? Take a moment and just, with your breath, bringing it in and sending it out through your heart, can you send out some deep love, connection, vibrant energy to those people that mean the most to you in your home, in your extended family? Feel your connection to them and how well you've sustained it, or what you want to do now that we're opening up a little bit. Hold that inner circle in space. And then with another deep breath, imagine the next circle of relationship out from that. Perhaps that's your community, your spiritual community, your activities that you do, maybe going to a yoga class or you sing in a chorus. People that mean something to you that you can send also some deep, warm, loving energy to them. Whatever feels appropriate. Think of the words, think of what are the qualities that you appreciate about your relationship with this next circle out. And what do you want to celebrate with them? And what energy do you want to send to them? What commitment do you want to make to beginning to reconnect in closer ways than you've been able to? And holding that for a moment. And then the next circle of relationships out from that, out from the core of you, out from your soul spark. Perhaps that's work colleagues, special friends there. How might you make a commitment to deepen that connection? What have you done over the last 3 months to stay connected? Maybe you're on Zoom calls with them every day. Is there some level of gratitude or celebration or appreciation that you want to send to them? And maybe follow up with a phone call or a text or an email to that effect. And then we can continue, of course, to send out healing energy to the rest of the world, to those that we don't know, to new relationships perhaps that we're beginning. Maybe through the intense times of the last couple weeks and the protests and our commitment to racial justice. Maybe there are new connections that you've made, new commitments that you've made through that, new relationships that you can hold in your sphere, that you can expand your sphere of relationships to include those too. So I invite you just to sit for a moment in the center of this beautiful spiral, this image of concentric circles moving out from you, of all of the people that are closest to you, extending to those that are maybe just coming into your orbit. And breathe life and love and joy and healing and deep connection, vibrant energy to all of those relationships. Let's breathe in together, bringing in our own deep energy from within, and exhaling, sending it out through all of those, through the whole spiral, through that whole tier of concentric circles. And then breathing in again. Sending it out again through all the paths of this spiral. And a third time, drawing in that deep, vibrant energy from within and sending it out one last time. And then coming back, holding your own breath within, coming back to your circle of one, back to your soul spark. Feeling your breath in your body, feeling your seat in your chair or wherever you're sitting. And then when you're ready, we can take one final inhale, and on the exhale, open our eyes. Welcome back. I hope you made lovely connections with new relationships, with your oldest, dearest relationships, and sent whatever you needed to send to all of them. And we'll continue to. I'd love to hear if you use this image of the spiral or the concentric circles, and maybe take some time every day to send energy to all of these relationships. And they don't even need to know you're doing it. A little bit of stealth relationship connection. Or you can do it, and that just adds depth to a relationship. Decide with someone that's meaningful for you that at 5:30 every day or 8 o'clock in the morning, you're going to just take a moment and send beautiful, warm, loving, healing energy to each other. So thank you. Thank you for being here, and I would love to hear your experience with how you've gone through this time and your experience with sending out this kind of vibrant energy to all of your relationships. Thanks so much for being here. Bye for now.